Welcome to Voices of Resilience, part of the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, where stories of strength, healing, and hope come to life. I'm your host, Gevonna Lyons, also known as Mama Lyons, and this space is dedicated to amplifying the voices of those who've turned pain into purpose. Each episode, we dive into real conversations about courage, self-discovery, and rising stronger than ever. So lean in, take a deep breath, and be inspired by the incredible voices of resilience, because every story has the power to heal. Welcome back to Voices of Resilience, where we amplify stories of healing, growth, and the courage it takes to do meaningful inner work. I am Gevonna Lyons, also known as Mama Lyons, and today I'm honored to welcome Dr. Gevonna Worney, owner and psychotherapist of Sagebrush Counseling and Addiction Services. Dr. Worney's work is grounded in generational trauma-informed care, cultural humility, and addiction treatment, with a deep commitment to serving and partnering with Native American communities and tribes across Arizona. Her passion for this work is not just professional, it's personal. Raised as an only biological child alongside 3 adopted Native American siblings, Dr. Worney grew up immersed in diverse cultural experiences that shaped her profound respect for identity, lived experience, and the importance of honoring each person's story. That foundation continues to guide her approach to therapy today. At the heart of her work is a simple but powerful principle: treat others the way you want to be treated. It's a value that shows up not just in her clinical practice, but in how she builds trust, connection, and safety with the individuals and communities she serves. Dr. Worney's journey has also been shaped by navigating a parent's mental illness at a young age, an experience that deepened her empathy and now informs the compassion, patience, and understanding she brings into every therapeutic relationship. Most recently, she reached a major milestone by graduating from Simmons University, further strengthening her clinical expertise and academic foundation as a leader in the mental health field. Today's conversation is about healing that honors culture, resilience that grows through understanding, and what it truly means to walk alongside others on their path to recovery and wholeness. I'm so grateful to have her here. Welcome, Dr. Worney. Hello, hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me today.
Yes, I've been looking forward to this, like you wouldn't believe. I know this is a very good conversation, a conversation that many people are interested in. I could tell by during the pre-promotion how people were showing up in the posts and in LinkedIn and different places. And by the way, we're streaming Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch. So, everyone who can get on needs to get on. And if you have someone you want to share this with listeners, please do. Uh,
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Worney, I am very excited that you're bringing it to Arizona, that you're coming to Arizona, because you're not in Arizona right now, right?
No, no, I'm not. I actually a resident living in North Carolina, but my roots are Connecticut, born and raised in Connecticut. And my husband and I moved to North Carolina about 10 years ago, but just loved Arizona because of one, the native tribes. I love working with the
Absolutely.
native population, so that was a heart's desire of mine. So that's what interested me in starting Sagebrush Counseling and Addiction Services. So yes,
I'm
so
so
I'm
glad.
excited.
I'm very, very much so akin to the Native community here, taught in the Gila River Indian community for 6 years. And so I was very excited to hear that that's a community that you cater to, because I have a lot of families that I, grew very close to and I understand the needs in the community. So that's another reason why
Mhm.
this is a great conversation.
Yes.
But let's start with what first drew you into psychotherapy and addiction treatment work.
Well, I really believe that originally, I'd have to be honest, I believe that it's a higher calling. I really believe, I have to be honest, that that's where it started. I also believe that by me working and starting in 1988 in the Department of Corrections, I started as a correction officer, but I went through the ranks as correction officer, correctional treatment officer, counselor, and then after counselor, I started into counselor supervisor. So when I got into that realm, into that vein, that's where my interest peaked, and that's where I think, you know, God used me to work in that area. It was a female prison that I worked in, and that's mainly where I worked with. But I worked throughout the state of Connecticut. So I not only worked with the women in inpatient drug treatment, but I also worked in the outpatient settings. And then got to do some other things too, audits and different things. But that's where really I think my heart, I just saw the need, and it was a revolving door. It was a revolving door for the women. They were coming in and out. So a lot of the officers, and when I was an officer at the time, I'm sorry to say, didn't really have the heart for the women. Not at that time. So I just saw a need and wanted to fill the void. And I think that between that, the higher calling, put it all together, and here I am today.
Right. The door is open. Things
Yeah,
happen the way they're
yes,
supposed to,
wide
right?
open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I'm sure you've already touched the lives of many women, especially being in that environment. So um, thank you for that, for sure.
Yes.
So growing up as only biological child with three adoptive Native American siblings, that shaped your perspective in unique ways, I'm sure. How did that experience influence you in terms of identity, family, and healing today?
I believe it did in several ways. And want to look at, we could just start, and I'm going to keep it in simple terms. Identity. I really got a chance to watch my parents, living in a two-parent home. I know that today that may be rare because, we have a lot of single parent homes. And for a period of time, I was a single parent. So I know what it is to raise, especially a son as a single parent. But I watched my parents raise us as a family, even though, bringing in three Native children and advocate and protect them. And they came from a different home and different culture. So it taught me a sense of belonging. And it also, created a sense of a call to action, to know, okay, this is what needs to happen. So, even though I couldn't share their lived experience, but I was exposed to what their reality was based on their, identities, because their identities were shaped by their culture.
Right.
So, in terms of family, my upbringing reinforced the idea of care and sameness. It helped me and more to really just shape and understand external family systems and understanding what's really needed for advocacy. Because, right, even though you're talking about adoption, there's still advocacy that's involved regarding that. And when you're going to look at healing, I saw survival.
Mhm.
I saw, a family coming in, and it's still a blended family, right? Even
Right.
though there's adoption, but my parents loved. They loved with agape love, and I love that term because my husband uses that term all the time. But my parents loved, and we weren't treated any different. My mom was a seamstress. She made our clothes growing up in the home. She sewed, and she made all our clothes. So all of us, it was myself, two girls, two sisters, and a brother. And she sewed the girls' clothes. And I believe that I can't remember some of my brother's clothes, but what I'm trying to say is we all were treated the same. And so even though there was survival coming in, what they had to survive and adapt, they were embraced. And I just thought that that was just a great learning experience for her, for all of us together. So I just
Yeah,
really
and it
appreciate
sounds
it.
like not only were your parents able to extend agape love, but you were too as a sibling.
Yes. So that
Yeah,
taught me a lot.
yeah.
It really did, and that really helped me. And I'm just going to bring it around 360. That really helped me for my prison experience, for
Hmm.
working with the women.
Hmm.
So I was able to give back. I was able to share that. I was
Yeah.
able to give that back to them because maybe if I didn't have that experience, I don't know. I don't know what I would have been able to give.
So you weren't in a position of judgment. You were able to extend grace, is what it
Yes,
sounds like. Yeah.
most definitely. I
That,
believe so. I
yeah.
believe so.
That's
I
good.
think
That's good.
in more ways, I believe. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because that's a tough position to be in. A lot of psychological stuff going on with because there are people who clearly, when they're in that situation, they manipulate others, and then there's
Oh,
people who are not that way, and they're in the wrong place, or they were in the wrong place, the wrong time, and they also find themselves incarcerated. So it takes a lot, I'm sure, and I haven't worked in that environment, but I've been close enough to know it takes a lot.
yes. Yes, it
So,
does. It really does. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of adapting, in adjustment. I mean, we don't wake up, when we graduate from high school and say, "Oh, I want to be a correction officer. Or I want to, work in a prison." I mean, it's just something that happens. So,
right.
yes. So it definitely is an adjustment. It's an adaptation, but you do adapt. And I did 23 years in the prison system. I actually retired from the prison system.
Wow.
So it
Mhm.
was well worth it. It definitely
Yes,
was,
you learned
and
a
it
lot,
really
right?
made us. Excuse me.
You learned a lot, the human experience.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. It was a great experience for me, and I would definitely say that it was something that I would not change. I just definitely would not change.
Right.
I was glad I had that experience. Yes.
Well, thank you for that because,
Yes, you're
again, I,
welcome.
I believe you made a difference in the lives of some women for sure.
Well, thank
Um,
you.
you specialize in generational trauma informed care. So, and I hear that as a teacher all the time, trauma informed teaching, trauma informed this, that, or the other. And I think it's really important. But for the listeners who are new to that concept, what does generational trauma look like in real life, not just in theory?
Right. Okay. So, and I would like, as I said, I'm gonna keep it as simple as possible and not try to bring it around theoretically.
Okay.
So, generational trauma, in simple terms, shows up in many ways. Poverty, it can show up in lifestyles, it can show up in day to day living, right? Mindsets. The easiest way to understand generational trauma is a stronghold way of thinking, addictive patterns, behavioral patterns, such as, let's say, such as a way of acting, criminal behavior. Criminal
Hmm.
behavior is a great, probably one of the best examples of generational trauma. It can be an environment where people come and stay in a certain environment. We have people say, why don't why don't they leave? Why don't someone doesn't leave a neighborhood or a state? Why do people stay? The great grandmother stays, the grandmother stays, the mother stays, and it's generational. It's traumatic. It's things that have happened that have been passed down from generation to generation. We like to look at it in that way. It's family patterns. It's things that have learned in the home, things that have happened. Let's take an example. Another thing I would love for us to really understand, from a family systems perspective. I'm trying to keep it uh, not as trying not to keep it clinical, but I want us to really understand the impact of domestic violence is another thing that's generational. That's traumatic because everyone knows domestic violence is traumatic, but it's also generational because when we're in that area, when we're in that vein, the children are seeing it, and it's happened to the mother, it's happened to the grandmother, it's happened to the great grandmother, and these a word can be behaviors can happen, and those types of behaviors in a domestic violence type of situation gets passed down. Don't do that, or don't act, you act a certain way, or you don't say a certain way, or you don't tell that, or you just allow certain things, or even an alcoholic parent, someone drinking, acting a certain way when the spouse comes home. So, a lot of that. I mean, I could go on, and I don't want to, but I just want to give us a general understanding. Behavioral patterns and criminal behavior, a lot of times, and it shows up in ways. Education is another way. It can show up in our school systems. It can show up in the classroom. So we have to be able to be sensitive to those things. So we have to be trained as educators. And I know you, of course, you're an educator. I was for a short period of time in the community college. That we have to be taught to be able to look for patterns, so we'll be able to help our students, help our clients, be able to help our patients. And that's one of the reasons why
Well stated.
with Sagebrush counseling and addiction services, we're different about how we go about working with our native clients, because with cultural humility we can spot those things, we hone in on those areas where a lot of the other avenues, a lot of the other
Providers.
practitioners in
Yeah.
different areas aren't honing in on those things. Cultural humility is the way to go. And so I kind of got off track a
Wow.
little bit, but it
No,
all
you did
pulls it
not.
in because
No, you did
generational
not.
trauma kind of hits
Yeah.
on
So
that
this is
area.
perfect.
Hmm.
This is perfect. Listen, you could spend time on this because this is the key ingredient that I think a lot of people are not aware of. A lot of people don't really think about. And the term trauma informed is key. And you just did an amazing job explaining that, because I think so many people kind of just brush off, oh, that person is just that way because, or that, like, why can't they change their life pattern? Like you said, why can't they do better? Why can't, it is not just about them. It's in their DNA. There's more. I mean, like you said,
Right.
there's lived experiences. Epigenetics is a real thing. And I hope people really look into that, because nobody wakes up and says, I want to have this life. Like you said, no one wakes up and says, I want to work in the prison. I don't think people wake up and say, I want to be in the prison either,
Exactly.
as
Yes.
an inmate. So honestly, I love what you're doing. I think it's key. And you're right, educators in the classroom have to be trauma informed if you're worth your salt, because you will have intrinsic bias against a child if you're not able to understand what that child is coming from. And
Exactly.
that's
Yes.
so key. And I think a lot of educators who get burned out earlier on and leave the career has a lot to do with them not really buying into, okay, you're on a mission. It may even be your calling, but you can do something with this child. It's not just about ABCs and arithmetic.
Hmm.
It's so much more. The social emotional is very important. And so yeah, I love the topic, and I'm going to have you come back again and again, I'm sure, as an expert on this, because I think it's key and people need to hear it, especially
Yes.
right now with everything that's going on. Um,
Most definitely. Well, thank you.
yeah, no, I love this. You mentioned cultural humility. I want to talk more about that, because there's a difference between cultural humility and cultural competence. Why is that distinction important in therapy?
Well, thank you for asking that, and I am so glad that you asked that question, because cultural humility, right, is the foundational theoretical approach that that I use at Sagebrush Counseling and Addiction Services. That is who we are. That is what we do, right? So, in simple terms, I'm going to break it down so our listeners can understand, because this is so important. This is really important for us to understand from an industry perspective. In simple terms, cultural competence, in simple terms, is just understanding and communicating with diverse populations and individuals. So basically, competence is learning, gaining knowledge, reading, uh, just uh, understanding more and more from a knowledgeable perspective that you would go from an educational vein, right?
Hmm.
Cultural humility is a lifelong, ongoing research, but it's something that you're going to be doing on a day to day basis. It's almost like you're taking a lens and your heart is in it, and you are making a vow and saying, I am going to take this process. I am going to make sure. It's almost like you're saying, I'm making a promise that I am going to study and apply and understand that cultures are different, that inclusivity, I'm going to be including cultures, that I'm going to understand that this culture is different, that I am going to understand biases, I am going to do self checks on stereotypes. There's a big, huge difference than just gaining book knowledge and being competent when you're seeing a client, right?
Hmm.
Versus when you are actually involved and on a regular daily basis, taking time out and doing self checks, whether or looking at, biases and stereotypes. Now, I'm not just talking about, educational parts. I'm talking about your day to day when you're watching, movies, when you're talking to individuals, because see, all of that plays into how we treat our clients, how we treat
Right.
our patients. Um,
Right.
all of that reading, studying, and applying for cultural competence when we're seeing our patients is one thing. So, but the lifelong, ongoing perspective and how we're going to respect the client involves how what we're going to, our opinions about our day to day lives. And it's almost like a commitment that we are just going to vow and say, listen, I'm going to really take the time out to make sure that I'm doing a self check on myself, that I am going to not be biased about how I'm looking at the world. I'm looking through a world view of a non-biased viewpoint. I don't know if that explained it well, but
No,
that's the
that
best way.
that's
That's the
beautiful.
best way I can kind of break it down. So
Yeah.
one's a lifelong process, and one is more of a educational, competent, more of an educational knowledge. Okay, I'm just going to do this because yes, I'm seeing clients, but I want to be competent in understanding that there are different cultures. But the humility part is you're actually applying it in a day-to-day, lifelong process of self-reflection and knowing who you are as a person and understanding that person in front of you. Yes, you're include it's DPAR, it's DEI
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
steroids.
Love that. I learned something new on every interview, and you just taught me something that, wow. Like, I think everyone listening can apply that in life. Am I just being competent, or am I being humble enough to buy in fully and embody it? Is what I'm hearing. And I think that if that's something you're not if, but the fact that your organization does that is, head and shoulders above many, I'm sure. Because people in that situation that need the kind of services that you provide often feel it when they go into an agency that isn't completely, well, lacks the humility. Yeah, it's by
Exactly.
the book. I'm competent. I can serve you as a therapist or whatever, but there, to me, what I'm hearing is there's a huge difference in what you
Oh,
guys do, for sure, which would make people want to seek out your clinic as opposed to not, because that's what people need. They need authenticity. They need, someone who genuinely is bought in and understands, is not judging. All those things matter. So I'm excited. That's really good.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
I want to shift gears a little bit. You've shared that your father struggled with mental illness while you were growing up. How did navigating that as a young person shape the way you show up for your clients now? Is there a connection?
Yes, I believe so. Even though I was very young when that happened, my mom and dad, they were planners. So I just want to give a quick backdrop.
Sure.
My mom was 33 when she had me. They waited 13 years before they had me. They planned and saved and planned. They were in the 1940s when they got married, and they saved. They were actually business owners. They owned apartments. Their plan was to own apartment buildings. My dad owned a little business where he did like floors of commercial floors. He was the buffing floors. Did that for business. So they were renters. They had apartment buildings and things like that. So they were business owners. Make a long story short. So, anyways, everything they did, they were about their business. So, what it was when he turned, I think he was 43. So I was 10 years old when that happened. So I was still young, but I was still old enough to know what was going on. So I believe that even at that age, I still adjusted to a certain degree as time went on. So I think how I navigated that, it is my mom compensated. Not, I don't want to say compensated, but my mom was there. My mom was was a strong young lady. She passed away at almost turning 94 years old. So
Oh,
she she
wow.
she she lived a good long life. But I guess I say that to say how that shows up for me now with my patients, with my clients, is me being there for them, me validating them, and really just understanding their needs, understanding what their needs are, and the importance of treatment, the importance of being there on time for if their treatment is at 4 o'clock, I'm there at 3:50. I'm signing on. I'm making sure that everything is in order, that I have everything that I need. I'm not running around looking for stuff. And this may sound kind of silly, but I've worked for several teletherapy companies, and I've worked with different practitioners, and there's a lot of unorganization, and I'm sorry to
Right.
say there's a lot of practitioners that just can take this job for granted, and it's important that we are there for our patients. So when I mean being there, paying attention, having yourself organized, having everything there, not getting up, running around, going to take breaks, or, I mean, everybody's going to have to maybe run to the bathroom, but being there for the 60 minutes and giving your full attention, being there for your client or patient, having everything prepared, making sure you have all your interventions prepared, and giving them homework and making sure that they're doing their homework, because that's what's going to help them get
Mhm.
better. That's what's going to help them make sure that that's the way of you assessing that they're getting it. That's what I say when because I think that by me seeing what my dad went through, in the struggles that he went through with his mental illness. This is serious. This
Right.
is very, very serious. And so I have to take what I do serious. And so if I'm not there to help my clients, be there to support them, to help them grow and get better and recover, um, they have to know that this is serious, but they have to know that they can get better. And the only way that they're going to get better if they have a practitioner that's going to meet them there. I have to meet them where they are. I can't meet them
Yes.
where I want them to be. I want them to be better, and I want them to be healed, and I want them to, I want it to be over. So, but I have to meet them where they are.
That's
So
also a really
I know
important
I
point.
kind of put a lot into that because I
No,
think
that's great.
because I
That's
really
great.
felt that, but that's I just witnessed it firsthand. So
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was asking. And you kind of touched on this a little bit. In your work with addiction, what are some common misconceptions people still hold? And what do you wish more people understood about recovery?
Oh, there are quite a few. There are so, let's see, there's quite a few. Uh, if someone wanted to stop, this is what has been said before. If someone this is drugs or if someone wanted to stop drinking, they could. Why don't they just stop? They can stop. They can put it down. They can put the drug down. They can put the drink down. Um, Addiction only affects certain people. It only affects people of color. That's
Mhm.
a big one because a lot of times, we people see, maybe they just may see news or they may just see
Absolutely.
certain populations of people being affected by that, so they may just assume that it's a BIPOC community or whatever they may see, right?
Right.
Um, Once sober, oh, they're going to stay sober. Another thing they may think, this is the last thing, people with addiction only care about themselves because they're getting high. They don't care about anything else. Yes, they do. Those are some of the misconceptions
Mhm.
that has been out there. Those are just
Yeah.
some of the terrible misconceptions that people have. And it's judgment. Individuals who don't drink or have controlled drinking, meaning can have a social drink and not overindulge, a lot of times can be very judgmental about individuals who have a drinking problem or a drug problem. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely. I believe that. And, I know I've been guilty of judging, even if I don't say it out loud. In my mind, some of those misconceptions, I've said them to myself. So I totally know that those are things that, people think. And I also, I wonder sometimes if it's for people who are on the outside looking in, is there frustration with whatever it is they've had to deal with those people? So that's their way of making themselves feel better, is to say, you know, it's not me, it's them. They can, but in fact, I kind of feel like, and I'm learning that it takes community, and that community is important, and that we need to support, rather than pull away, but of course with healthy boundaries. Um, but there's so much, and that's why this is so good to have public conversations about, because I think there are people out there who would like to do better and be supportive, and there are people who would like to be understood on the other side, and be supported. So I appreciate again what you're doing. um,
Thank you.
let's talk about working with Native American communities and other historically underserved populations. I know that you have a love for this community, and um, trust building is a real big part of it, right? So what does trust building really require from a clinician like yourself?
Well, it requires it requires quite a bit when you're working with the indigenous and Native American population. It requires you to be invested in working with this population, researching, but really wanting to work with the population, setting up your practice or whatever it is that you plan on doing and working with the population. We have a particular demographic set up, like the clients coming in. So what I'll do is, when I meet with them initially, I ask them questions. My first question is, when I do the 15-minute intake, is,
Mhm.
do you have a native nickname that you prefer me to use? That's my very, very first question, because 99.99% of the Native Americans who live on the res, 99, not on the res, not off, like have a nickname. My
Mhm.
brother does, and
Mhm.
so don't the rest of the individuals that live on the res. They all have a nickname, and trust me, you are not calling my brother by his real name. You are calling him by his by his native name. So,
Yeah.
but and then a lot of times, if not, then that's fine too. So what you want to do is break the ice,
Mhm.
and then you want to start the comfort zone. So, and then there's different questions that you want to ask. That's another question you want to ask. Are you living on the res or are you living off? So
Right.
sometimes, people may live on the res or off, and then that's fine too. And then you want to ask, do they have any practices that, are they part of the reservation? Sometimes they may or they may not be. They could be isolated where they're not. Then you're going to know how to proceed from there. But that's you want to do your research, and you want to know the questions to ask.
Mhm.
So you want, and that's how you're going to start building trust. So,
Mhm.
but it has to really come from the heart. It
Right.
really does. You have to want to work with the population. And this isn't a thing where about, well, money, or, how much am I going to make? That is not if that's anywhere in the question, or about that, then I don't know if this is the right work to do, because
Right.
that's not what this is about. This is really about working and helping this population, because research shows that this population, there is a serious struggle with alcohol, with drug use. Arizona has, what, 22, I think, federally recognized tribes.
Hmm.
And there is a huge struggle going on right now today, with alcohol and substance abuse.
Yeah.
And we have our president, yes, who just signed this executive order, and it was a order that was assigned, I think it was about a couple of days ago, with regard to addiction, and bringing, this full circle. We'll see how that goes, and working with the addiction population. So we're going to see how this plays itself out. Now, if that's the case, this is all going to be helpful for all of us working with with this population. But
Okay.
that's really going to be helpful for
That's
for us
good.
to be doing that.
Yeah. Wow. I'll have to look into that. I didn't know that. Um, what I heard is you actually are really explaining the ways in which the cultural humility kicks in. It's by, like you said, doing your homework, asking the questions, getting genuinely caring. So, again, I think that's really critical.
Hmm.
You recently graduated from Simmons University. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
Whew,
So, what does
yes.
that milestone represent for you personally and professionally?
Well, professionally, it's great, because it's going to open the doors for me to do some work on the consulting level with the educational piece. I know one of the things I wanted to do was to go back into the Department of Corrections at some point, and be like an outside consultant, maybe do some work on that level too. I would love to be able to teach at the. I wanted to go back into at the education component,
Mhm.
teach social work, but of course the MSW students. So of course I would need the doctorate to be able to do that. So that's what that would mean for me.
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons why. So that would give me that some leverage to be able to do that. It
That's
opens the
awesome.
doors for that across the board, because in order to do that, I mean, I would be able to do that in clinical social work, and I could do that in some other areas too, but mainly in clinical social work. I could also do some supervision across the board. Arizona has some opportunities that I've been looking into, doing some clinical supervision for the board there, for the Arizona
Fantastic.
board. Just have to finish some testing, so that's going to allow for that. So there's some opportunities, but
Very
mainly
good.
educational wise, that brings me, because the only way you can really teach in academia, especially at the master's level, is you have to be able to have that doctor. You can do it
Absolutely.
at a master's level, but they really, for hiring purposes, they really
Right.
want to see that doctorate level for you to be able
And you
to
put the
teach at
work
that.
in. You did it.
So
You, you did it.
that was a
So
lot of work. I do not want to ever
I
have
know.
to do that again. That was a lot of work. That was
That's
a lot, but
awesome
that's
though.
okay. It was good. It was worth it though.
No, I know. I know. Trust. I understand. Doctoral level work is a whole nother beast for sure.
Yes.
Um, so kudos to you. I
Oh,
stopped. I
thank
did a
you.
couple years and I stopped. So that's why I can. I can sincerely congratulate you that you kept going. It is a lot.
Oh, thank you.
So, I'm all about resilience. And I know that resilience looks different for everyone. How do you define resilience in your life right now? Not just in your work, but just in general. How do you define resilience?
Wow. Okay, let's see. So, resilience is many things in my eyes. Let me see. My ability to keep choosing to press through this journey right here,
Hmm.
the journey of therapy, of private practice, of working with addiction and substance abuse and mental health patients. Even when it's required me to go into survival mode sometimes. Um, Resilience is facing what is thrown my way and having the willingness to continue to show up for my family first,
Right.
to and still continue to show compassion for others and to show the compassion for my patients and clients when I know deep down inside there's so much going on within me. Um,
Mhm.
Adapting, recovering after emotional setbacks, rebuilding trust, in relationships, where trust may have been lost. Resilience, I would say, um, is starting this practice and believing that you're going to
Yep.
be successful no matter what. No matter
Right.
what, even when, finances may not be there at the moment. So it's just pressing my way through, believing in my higher power, that I'm trusting in God no matter what. Resilience is continuing down that path and just trusting God in every avenue. Um,
That's wonderful.
that's how
You're illustrating
I'm looking
perfectly
at it.
for the listeners because I think that um, I always say this, especially at school with some of the kids. I'm a middle school teacher. I always remind people that it's a whole different world I live in. But um, I've learned that I chose resilience as my word because I'm forced daily to walk it out. I'm forced daily. No 2 days are the same. And I have to embody that word because I am forced to be resilient. I am forced to bounce back when I'm dealing with
Mm-mm.
so many different situations with young people and things that I can control and some things I can't control. And I feel like with what you do, it's the same thing. It's that you are consistently dealing with clients that in order for you to invest and have that humility that you speak of, that takes a lot from you.
Oh,
You know, it
yes.
does. I know, because
Yes, it does.
but you show up and you do it because you realize that, like you said, you're called to do it, and this is what you were made for. Um,
Amen.
there are people out there listening who haven't quite figured that out yet. They haven't figured out how they show up or what they're made for. But at the same time, some of their experiences in life could be a hint, maybe something that they've been through that's been tough, that they overcame, could be, their arsenal to be able to help someone else. And so I asked the question about resilience because I want people to hear it's not just rainbows and butterflies. You've put in a lot of work to get your degree. You put in a lot of work. You're still putting in work. You're going across different states. You are building something that's, monumental, and it's not as easy as it sounds,
No.
right?
Right. It's definitely not easy, but
Yeah.
I'm pressing my way through, and it's just I'm continuing and I'm not giving up.
Yeah, no, and I know that it's going to pay off for sure. Um, for someone listening who may be carrying family trauma, addiction patterns, or unspoken pain, what's one gentle but powerful step toward healing you would encourage them to take today?
One step. Put fear and worry in your secret place. Whatever place you use, I call it a box. I used to tell my clients it's like a little box, and I used to have them put a little note in there, and they open it, and whatever bothers them or whatever things that they have to challenges. So I put it at the altar. I don't know what they want to call it, but whatever they want to call it. So if you want to call it your altar, if you want to call it your box, but whatever fear it is, whatever worry it is that's keeping you from going to that place, to get to that place, that's what you need to do. You need to take it. You need to take it right now and put it there so that way you can move it out of the way, and you need to take that step of courage so that way you can get going and start working on yourself, because you are worth it. You are worth the challenge. You are worth it. And there's help out there. I don't know where you are, whatever state you're in. I don't know where this is going to be broadcasted. But if you are available, there is help there for you, and you need to take that first step and just reach out. If you're in Arizona, you can look me up. If you're in Connecticut, there's help too. I have help there. So just look for help whatever area you're in, because there is help out there for you. Don't give
Mm,
up on yourself. That is the important part. But you have to take that first step. But you have to make sure that you are putting that fear or that worry, whatever that thing is that is keeping you from making that move, because there is something in here that's telling you you can't. You have to reverse that negative thought, and you
mhm.
have to change it and put it in the positive realm. And then you have to move on in faith and trust your higher power, if you have a higher power. And you have to be able to take the courage to go ahead and take that step, because it's
That's
important.
it.
It's a life or death situation right now.
It really is.
Really.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's about them taking the first step.
Yes.
You don't take it for them. They
No.
have
Oh
to.
no. This is
Yeah.
this is in your hand. This is in their hands. We can't.
Hmm.
We're here for support and help, but it's really it's in your hands right now to make that move. You know.
Hmm.
We're here if you need us.
Yeah. So speaking to the people who are in the lives of those people who may need that, what advice can you give, the supportive community, the spouse, the children of, the parents of, what advice do you give them in terms of being a support?
Well, what I would say is, as a psychotherapist, is to don't badger,
Hmm.
don't beat the person. And I don't want to use that word beat them up, because we're going to use that, but don't to verbally, uh, continue to verbally abuse the person about going for help. If you're a prayer person, if you are an individual that believes in prayer, that's one avenue. But you cannot continue to keep emotionally or verbally um, telling someone something. It has to come from them, and it has to come from their heart. A lot of times we have to step back and
Hmm.
allow the person to move on their own in faith, because it doesn't matter how many times we tell someone this is what they need to do, this is what they should do. They have to make their own decisions. A lot of times it's important, if it's important enough for them to do it, they will do it on their own. It's not going to happen so long as we keep telling the person over and over and over that they need to do it. Family
Hmm.
support is great. Just be there, be encouraging, be supportive, be loving, be embracing, and just continue, as my husband's words, just continue to show them that agape love in all
Hmm.
cases, as hard as it may be, with everything that they're doing, whether it's the drinking or the drug use or whatever the case may be. Just do your best to just show them that love and just be there for them. But don't keep
Mhm.
yourself in any kind of a situation where you're being abused, because you know that there's avenues where you would call 911 yourself. But I'm just saying, don't continue to be verbally abused, but just make sure that you are not doing that. Just allow them to make the moves. When it comes time, they'll make the moves, because
Mhm.
it has to be on their own, because otherwise, if you're doing it and you're pushing them to do it, they're going to go, and then they're not going to be successful at it, in simple
Yeah,
terms.
they have to be ready
Yeah,
to step
yeah,
up.
exactly.
Wow,
I'm
that
going to say,
is.
I just
Go
want to
ahead.
say, someone told me a long time ago, um, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I love that saying. It's so true. It is
Yeah.
true. And I know that people listening will, and I've been looking at the comments, and we have quite a few people in agreement that, what you're saying. So that's wonderful. Um, you know, I honestly, I know people will hear these things and they'll say, but you don't know what I've been through. You don't know what this person put me through. And I think sometimes those people also need help too. Do you have people come to you who are like supportive, or family members that also seek your services? Or do you do family therapy? How does that work?
Oh yes, I do family therapy, but ethically I can't see, quote unquote, my family. I mean, I'm not of course I can't see anyone that I know personally, but yes, married couples, intimate couples,
Mhm. They
yes,
will come to
and
you.
in family therapy, yes,
Yeah.
individuals,
Okay. All
yes,
right. That's good
not
to know.
groups yet. We don't do groups yet, but yes,
Okay.
we do.
Yeah. That's a whole different thing. The group therapy is definitely.
Yes.
Yeah,
When we
for
get to a
sure.
point where we expand and get into more providers down the road, I would love to be able to get into groups, because groups are great, because you can bring more. We could do some psychoeducation groups down the road, but for now,
Okay, and I have your contact information and your website. Is that where people go now?
well, we don't
Um,
have the website up and running yet, but you do have my contact information. You
okay.
should have the phone number
Yes.
and the email address. So I'm still
Mhm.
waiting for, because we're still new. We're just kind of getting things up and running, but you do have
Here in
that
Arizona.
information.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So, and it's telehealth, right?
Yes, we are. We're 100% telehealth,
Okay. All right. Want
unless
to
my
make sure.
husband decides he wants to relocate.
I would so love that if you just
I know,
pick
right?
up,
Wouldn't that be
move to
great?
Arizona.
I know I would love Arizona.
It's it's right now we have great weather. I just want
That
to
that
throw that
would
out
that
there.
would that would be wonderful. Well, hopefully one day soon we'll make it the
Yeah.
visit, and maybe that might entice him.
Yeah, the weather is absolutely beautiful here. I would love to have you come in here in person. That would be great. I really appreciate, again, what you're doing, who you're serving, how you're showing up, and the uniqueness that your agency brings to something that is so needed. Because, and I'm going to be thinking about this over and over and over, cultural humility. I just love that. I think what you're introducing is something that could be introduced to teachers, educators in the classroom as well. There is a
Oh, okay.
difference, the difference between the competence and humility. That's my thing. I'm telling you, every podcast I do, I always learn something, and I always walk away going, man, that sticks. I'm gonna have to use that, and that's the one for this one.
Well,
I
great. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
it is so good. Anything else you want to share? Anything you want to put out there, because you have and will have many listeners going forward.
Well, I think no. I mean, it was
You've covered
great.
it.
It was just great being here, and I'm honored to be here and just be a part of the Voices of Resilience. I just want to thank you for the opportunity. I was looking forward to it. I'm just excited. I was excited about coming on this evening, and
Thank
I'm
you so
just,
much.
I just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so very much.
You'll be seen many more times. You will be back.
Oh, well, thank you.
Don't you worry.
Okay,
You're
well,
gonna
thank you.
be.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Yes, yes, for sure. They'll see you again in the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. We have
Okay.
the between the Ladies' Diary, we have all of the different. We have um, the Voices of Resilience, obviously, even Coach's Corner. There's so many, the universe, Iron Sharpening Iron universe, actually, Big Jack, story time, he will probably also interview you. So people will see you again. And I'm so excited that you are now a part of this universe and sharing your expertise because it's very needed.
Oh,
So
thank you.
hang on, do not go anywhere. We're going
Okay.
to, we may be ending the live stream, but I still want to chat with you more about what's going on with the universe. And to
Okay.
all of our listeners, please like, share, get the word out. Every Sunday at 2 o'clock, I'm going live with some amazing guests. So, and there's so many more um, shows with the universe, and I can't remember all of them. So right now, just stay tuned on our YouTube channels and be looking for what's next because we are growing. I want to thank everyone who showed up today, support and listened, and be back next Sunday. Or actually, I'm going to be on the Ladies' Diary also. So, and that's coming up on the 4th. So, yes, Wednesday, the Ladies' Diary is the next episode. I'll be co-hosting with Boss B. So, hopefully, you'll tune in on that as well. And all right, Dr. Warney, I'll be with you in just a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.